Today we are joined by Georgie Maynard, founding member of Brain Cancer Justice Campaign.
Before we get into the actual campaign part of everything, Georgie, can you tell us about you and why this matters to you so much?
So I have brain cancer. I have a GBM, a glioblastoma. And of course, the first thing I think about when I talk about having a glioblastoma is that the day that I found out was the 20th of May. And that happened to be the same day as Professor Scollier, who was the Australian. His experience has been very different to my experience because he's trying his own new cure. And that's the first thing I think about when I got it. It was in line with him. I mean, obviously, the thing that I find quite fascinating about brain cancer is when it happens and the different experiences we have. But for me personally, mine happened on the way home. I'd just been out with the kids. My husband was in Australia and we got home and went outside to the garden, sat in the sun, very quickly felt like, oh dear, I don't feel well at all. Sat on the sofa and was like, oh no, this is not good. And then I fell out and had my seizure. 20 minutes later, I woke up and my 3 children had got the first responder, the ambulance there, and my brother and his wife there. And then it was fantastic what they did straight away. And I was very lucky to be seen so quickly. But that is an area I want to explore, actually, is for those of us who don't know when it's coming. I heard about a family the other day who's similar situation to mine. The mother was driving the car home. She had 3 kids in it. And unfortunately, she didn't get home before she had a seizure. And she and her children were in a very bad state after that. But what else are we not knowing about? People aren't aware of it. And how many people have car accidents that also have brain tumours and we just don't know about it? Okay, I've gone off on a bend right now already. But it's an area I want to explore because there are so many areas, and the more we talk, and that's what we're doing here at Brain Cancer Justice, is we're talking to families, the more things we find out. And there's many areas we need to explore, many areas that we need to talk more and find out what's really going on. And hopefully that's going to help us find a cure or a reason why we've got it or how it's come about.
Thank you for sharing that, Georgie. And, we know that glioblastoma, also known as GBM, is the most aggressive and common type of high-grade primary brain tumour in adults with a 12 to 18-month prognosis. Treatments haven't changed in decades. Why do you think that is? Like, what's stopping progress from happening?
Well, that's a question that is just surprising that we're in this situation that for people, they will say to me, for instance, I know someone who lost their wife in 1993. She at the time had chemo. She lived for 11 months, nearly a year before she died, and she had the GBM too. And one would expect that something between 1993 and 2023, that in those 30 years, there'd be a difference, a change. And really, there isn't. And it's really disappointing to hear so many people with the expectation that what happened 30 years ago would be different today, and to then find out, no, it's not, it's the same. And for us standard individuals who haven't been told there's a new trial that you could try or a new treatment that you could have, you're just told, do the chemo and the radio, do it for the first 6 months, get it out, then you've got your chemo after that. That's the standard approach. And unless you have money to go abroad, that's what you do. Gosh, it's like, it's just so depressing, really. But that's not the way that I look at it. But it is the concept itself is depressing, how it's been overlooked. And why has it been overlooked? I've been told various reasons. We know that it's a difficult area. So brain cancer, there's apparently 100 different types of brain cancer that you can have. So there's various aspects. It's going to be really hard, complicated to find an answer. Scientists have gone into the space and said, I want to explore this area. They explore it, they find something interesting, but their answers just sit on the shelf. So the research that's been done isn't necessarily acted on. And new treatments, people who've got an idea, have got new treatments, they're trying to get into the UK, but they currently can't. So they're doing their first event in Switzerland, and yet they're British and they want to do it here. So there's just so many barriers everywhere we look, and we need to fight to get those barriers down so there's more options for us to try new treatments, try new trials, get it out there.
We've done a few episodes where we get quite frustrated and we have to work very hard not to. but sometimes it's the right time to come out. And Georgie, we know that you have as well. We go to so many charity events. We say the same statistics over and over again. We talk about the funding that's been promised in the past. For example, the Tessa Jowell pledge back in 2018, that these things just haven't been fulfilled. And we're seeing multiple charities being set up. And just this whole, it feels like we're going in circles quite a lot of the time. So we'd like to ask about brain cancer justice itself. How did you get there? And how have we gotten to a place where you've got a petition with tens of thousands of signatures and people from across the world finding it? Can you tell us about the campaign and the asks and how you got to where you are today with it?
The reason why BCJ exists, Brain Cancer Justice exists, is off the back of going to APPG groups in Westminster and hearing families and patients talk about their experience of brain cancer. But more to the point is you hear these stories how they talked about this case 5 years ago. They talked about it 7 years ago. They talked about it 8 years ago. And they're saying this in the APPG event. And you're hearing that nothing has been done over 7 or 8 years. And we know that in 2015, 2016, there was a fantastic petition that led to over 120,000 people signing that petition. Great support. If you really watch the debate in Parliament, you could see that MPs across the board were very supportive of this. Off the back of that, in 2018, 20 million was assigned, and then sadly Tessa Jowell died. But before she died, she raised more attention into this space. 40 million was then assigned to research into brain cancer. And yet today we are still not seeing action. I mean, we got an announcement in December that 13.7 million was going to be assigned to X, Y, and Z. That's great. But that 13.7 is still only getting the money spent of the 40 million assigned in 2018 up to around 26 million. So we're talking, 26 million sounds a lot and also doesn't sound a lot in this space. We really need to focus in this space because ultimately it is the biggest cancer killer of children under 40 years old. And if you as a government not just want to do the right thing by looking after young people, you also want to look after your team that is going to be supporting England, Scotland, Ireland, Northern Ireland financially by getting back to their job, their work. So there's all sorts of reasons why a focus should be existing for brain cancer.
So, brain cancer justice, Georgie, how can people get involved with helping you on this campaign?
Well, it is great that people have got involved. And what makes brain cancer justice different to other aspects out there is that we're not a charity. We're not here to raise money. We're here to give patients a voice because we have found that your voice is brief in other areas, but your voice here is held, and we want to extend it and understand more about your personal experience. We want to share more, find out more, collaborate more, because a voice for patients is really important. We know that pharmaceuticals are important. We know that charities are important. We know governments are important. But so is the patient voice. And that is what we are trying to represent. But one of the things that we want all the brain cancer patients to do and to get involved with is we know that this is heartbreaking for many, many people. It's the last thing they want to get involved with. But what we have done is we've put it on head on, and you might see that in September, we do this in Westminster. And we're trying to kind of raise about that whilst it is horrendous and it must feel very awkward for some people, it just demonstrates what any age, and this is patients of any age, little kids, 7 years old, are having to wear their mask, lie on a table, sit there for half an hour having their radiotherapy. And it's a bit gut-wrenching, but let's just put this out there. This is what brain cancer patients have to do, and it's heartbreaking. Now, I've also heard from the Banshees. They kind of come along to make sure that everyone's there and taking attention. And so this Banshee, she shared this with me. She wears her coat, or it's he. Sometimes this Banshee has been in. We've seen him in Brighton, we've seen him in Edinburgh, some all over the place, and she will or he will go around wearing their Banshees. I don't think we need to necessarily use the Sea Coast, but we are looking for more Banshees. So you can see Banshees in your own village, in your own town, and you can take a photograph of it and share it with us. We would love to see them eventually, because we know that they're all over the place. They've heard that they're in Yorkshire, or we saw that last weekend. I'll send a picture of it. We've seen them in London. We've seen them in Brighton. We've seen them in Edinburgh. I've heard they might be in Birmingham very soon too. So, you know, if you think you've seen Evangeline, take a picture, because she's working for us and trying to raise attention around brain cancer. We're very keen to come to theirs. We're there.
Do you have a message, Georgie, to other people facing brain cancer, glioblastoma, or any other? Those that you mentioned at the beginning, you said the concept of this is very depressing. And of course, you've said you've shifted, you know, you see this in a different light. But what message do you have to those people that haven't got there yet?
I can't make it, I can try, but what I'm really aware of is that everyone's approach to brain cancer is very different, and it's really hard to see the area that will make a difference. And the way that I look at it is going to be so different to everyone else, because everyone has their own experience and a life experience, and that has an impact on how you look at things. I sadly had a very grief-orientated time in my life in my mid-20s, and also my father died when I was 13. So in terms of grief, I'm very familiar with it. And so it gives me a different perspective. And I'm lucky to look at that and go, wow, I got to 47 when I've had children. I've had a wonderful time in my life, and I look at it from a different perspective. And I'm so grateful for what I've had. It's very hard for someone who's a mother of a young child who's dying, a child itself, or anyone in their 20s, to look at it in that respect. So I can't claim that's a great way to look at things. But what I do that gives me joy every day is I look outside and see the sun, or I go down a similar route and I take a picture of this tree every day. And I love the fact that there is so much joy out there that gives me a way to have that moment of silence and go, oh, look at the way the sun's setting or the sun is rising. Okay, admittedly, not often the sun rising, it's usually sun setting. But it's given me joy. And that's the thing that we can hold on to, is elements in our life. And everyone's different. It might be watching the football team, or it might be eating something, you know, gives us pleasure, or it might be gathering with family and friends. Whatever it is, there's small elements of joy, and those are the things that you put into and give us the hope to carry on. Well, answer your question.
Yeah.
So how are you finding it talking to people on GlioBabes and doing wonderful work that you're doing? But how do you feel about it? How's it changed your life?
Can I go first?
No, you can go first.
Harder than expected. You got to really safeguard yourself. We've heard a lot of things, and I guess campaigners will understand that we're only people. So this persona that kind of comes across as an activist or an advocate, it's very hard to not be emotionally impacted by that. But I think it shifted our perspective and lives really, and we've learned so much. We saw a gap, as you did with brain cancer justice, and we thought we need to fill this, because being in your 20s obviously is a really weird time of life anyway, let alone throwing this in as well.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
I think you're right. Like, we hadn't even been friends that long. We hadn't even known each other that long. But when we started speaking and we realised that some things we were very similar with, and we've got a similar type of tumour and things like that, but we've had very different treatment paths. But there are similarities there as well. And I think when you find someone and you realise how similar things can be, and you realise that you don't really have people to talk to about it, that's kind of why we set this up, because we didn't want anyone to feel the same. We didn't want anyone to feel like they were alone. We set up this podcast to try and create a community where people felt heard and seen, rather than just acknowledged as a statistic at the end of the day. Because, like Mol's just said, we are in our 20s and people don't want to be viewed as a statistic. They want to be going back to work. They want to be getting on with life. And it's hard to do that when you're slapped with a label when you least expect it, I guess.
Well, it's been so impactful what you're doing and sharing your voices. It makes a real difference. I saw yesterday Instagram that there were 2 Australians who follow the BCJ, and probably follow you guys too. And they got together, and their families got together, and they'd said in their conversations that the 2 of them could talk to each other in a space that no one else could understand or do. And for patients, that is so valuable because your family are very supportive, your friends are very supportive, but to talk to someone else who's got the same as you has a massive impact on you because they can tell you things that you didn't know, or you can be straightforward with them in a way. You can be honest with your own experience and how it with somebody else who understands it completely. And it's a great thing that you're doing to bring us together and give us an opportunity to talk to each other.
Same for you, Georgie. I think, you've touched upon it, and we mentioned it as well, kind of like there are so many charities, there's so many different names. We have confusion all the time, and people contacting us like which charities, which I'm like, we don't even know ourselves. But there was that gap and kind of like that innovative approach. And what you've done is created a campaign and worked alongside the Banshees and everyone to try and do something that stands out. And it means that if that's adding one more conversation, but actually we've seen way more than one more conversation. We're seeing it come up in Parliament all the time. We're seeing it being shouted about. We're seeing people turn up, and it's really, really impactful, with their radiotherapy masks, knowing just simply looking at that, how that can feel. So thank you. And, we're really thrilled you could come on in your busy brain cancer justice schedule and talk about this. And hopefully more people can rally behind. There is a petition that will be linked in the show notes. So if you're listening, please go down and look at that now. It's going to be linked everywhere. There's all the brain cancer justice pages. Look at that. We've even got a QR code. Everything's there. Please get behind it. Of course, that's a UK petition, but even if you're international, please follow along the pages. And most importantly as well, if you need that support, we'll put the support lines in the show notes as always. But know that you can reach out to us, and there's a whole community here. So please don't be on your own, and get in touch. Be around people that can understand you is really important. So please do not hesitate to reach out to Brain Cancer Justice, reach out to the GlioBabes. Everything will be linked below for you.